Alrighty guys, welcome back. So today we are currently back here on Offroad Outlaws once again, as you guys can see here. Now in front of me I do have a build that I went ahead and did a couple of days ago on a live stream. A lot of you guys did like it and wanted me to do a build tutorial on it for those of you guys that didn't really catch every little part of it. So I figured I'd go ahead and just show off today's build and go through the full build series and show you guys how this mud truck performs through the mud. As you guys can see, I mean, it did pretty well. I got out of the mud, thankfully, and his big mud tires definitely did a lot of work, even though they are pretty caked up right now. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a quick look of it clean now that you guys just saw it dirty. So let's go ahead and spend $500 to wash this puppy off, and would you look at this. So pretty clean mud truck overall now that it is no longer muddy. And with that, let's go ahead. If my game will stop being laggy, alright. Let's go ahead and hop straight into the build here. So first things first, let's move on into customization. For those of you guys that want the exact color, here it is. Alrighty guys, I don't think it's any of these presets. I mean, actually you might be able to click this one and just turn it to the dark. And yeah, these are the stats for the paint here, and it is just matte. For my rims, I went with these ones here, the fifth one from the last one, obviously front and rear. And I just blacked out the spoke and bead and kept it matte. Pretty good looking wheels, if I do say so myself. And wait, does that have bead lock on though? No, it doesn't. Alright, so yep, that's that. And for tires, it's going to be the third to last one, front and rear obviously. And for axle color, let me show you guys what I did. So it's going to be blacked out for the primary color. This is the exact paint here for secondary color. Let's move on into body customizations here, but real quick, the windows are tinted, if you guys couldn't already tell that. And now for body customization, it is missing the front bumper, and it does have cutout fenders, as well as missing the rear bumper, obviously no steps. It does have a light bar on it though, which I kind of overlooked the light bar. I kind of forgot that it had it, honestly. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Let's go and move on down the line here. So you know, the whole time during doing this intro, I could have sworn it didn't have a light bar, but I guess it does. And yeah, so here's the light bar. It is going to be equipped with a snorkel. Spare tire in here, you don't really need it, it's just for looks. I mean, it's a little tall up, so really nobody sees it anyway. Light bar in the front, as well as some horns, can't forget those, and no winch or anything like that. But for the exhaust setup, it is going to be a singular stack towards the right in the bed, and we are going to be equipping this thing with some LEDs in the front to match the yellowed out old school looking light bar, as well as the modern LED light bar in the front. So we're going to be equipping it with some HIDs, and of course it has a gun rack in the back, as well as a toolbox and some tow mirrors. Alright, so that's all for body customization, everything like that. So now moving on into the good stuff. Alright, so we have a truck looking somewhat similar to this, except for the monster suspension, and it's not going to be as fast as this one until we go into upgrades. I'm going to go ahead and diesel swap it. If you want it exact, I mean, some of these things, if you want an exact build, go for it, 1-to-1 build, but you can put your own things on it if you don't really feel like making it a diesel. But then again, you already have the stack if you matched it already. But then again, if you did have a gas engine, you could just do dual straights out the back or something like that. Any way you want to make this vehicle, but this is, I just thought I'd go through and show you guys how I built mine. So it's going to be diesel swapped. It is going to be equipped with a 5-speed. However, these are just more expensive upgrades you guys don't need to do. It does have maxed out engine, grip, weight, durability, as well as a stage 4 turbo. So that's all for customization upgrades. Let's move on into suspension tuning. So obviously, if you guys couldn't already tell, front rear is going to be monster suspension. And when you go into tune suspension, the travel is going to be all the way up, 1-to-1. Stiffness, I didn't change at all, and it rides super smooth and goes through the mud really well. You guys will see. I don't know why. The stiffness really depends. Like, if I had this truck all the way up on stiffness, it wouldn't go through the mud as good as if the stiffness was on here. Because I've built many different mud trucks. Some are like complete monster trucks, pretty much, like my Monster Max I had in my old account. And I had the stiffness all the way up, and the thing hardly went through mud. But with this one, it goes through the mud really good. So the stiffness does have something to do with that. I don't really know why. Shock size is the same. Damping hasn't changed. And axis width is going to be 0.04. Pretty much all the same in the rear, except for the travel is just going to be a little bit lower in the rear to match it, because if it was all the way up, it'd have a pretty hefty rake on it. But yeah, pretty much all the stuff on it is the same. Once again, don't change the stiffness in the rear. And now you're going to have suspension looking somewhat like this. But now you want your mud tires to be big enough to go through mud. So let's move on into wheels and tires. And the wheel radius is going to be 1.8 as well as 2.4 width, front and rear. And rim size is going to be 1.1, a little bit bigger, not too much bigger, not just giant. So now you have yourself a mud truck that looks pretty similar to this. Now, do you guys want to see how it performs? I'd say you guys maybe want to. So let's move on into a single player here. And I guess we can do some nighttime mudding. You know, I really find that fun. So it's like single player here. Let's go back. Let's do night mode. And one of my favorite mudding maps we can go through here is going to be... let's try to find it here. It might be down a little bit. I believe it's Deep Mud Holes. Alright. I believe it's Deep Mud Holes. I know it's just whatever one has mud in the name that I favorited. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and try this one out, and I'll show you guys how the mud truck performs now. Because I feel like it's a pretty cool truck in my opinion, and I think you guys will like today's build since we already went through it, but let me show you guys how it performs. So you're going to spawn in right here, and we're just going in slow rear wheel drive, diving into some pretty deep mud here, pretty big pit of mud. Now we're only in first gear, rear wheel drive once again. So let's go ahead and repair the truck. 4-wheel drive. Low gear, first gear. I mean, we can do high gear, first gear, and it'll still go through it just fine. Oh, there we are. And we can do some diff lock, and it'll kind of speed it up. At some points, it'll slow it down, but as you guys can see, if you turn all your diff lock on too, as well as 4-wheel drive, it crawls right through the mud like it's nothing. And this is pretty deep mud. Look at these giant 1.8 size tires for the radius, and it's just really crawling right through it. Now, I know most mud trucks don't have the wides on like I have it, but I don't know. It goes slower through mud, but still crawls right through any deep mud pit. A couple of other mud trucks I've built in the past really have the skinnier mud tires, and it really does kind of fly through the mud better. So you can change on this truck whatever you want, but I also wanted it to look pretty good, and I'd say we've done a good job at that. But would you look at the giant tracks we're making here, and yeah, the ruts are pretty big overall. Let's go into low gear here, and as you guys can see, it's going to perform way better. And there's some points where it's going to jump. It's going to find a place that's not so deep, and it's just going to crawl right through there. But yeah, so I'd say that's it for today's build, our OBS Chevy mud truck. I hope you guys did find this video helpful and enjoy it as well. I hope you guys do enjoy the build if you did end up building this exact one-to-one truck or something similar to it. And yeah, have fun mudding. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new and you have not already. And with that, catch you guys very, very soon in the next one.